All right, guys, welcome back to self-reflection time. Again, if you see lag on the stream, I know it's there. And if you see lag on the videos, right, I get this. We're working on a new computer that's going to come someday. I don't know when Best Buy is going to send it to me. And hopefully its CPU will be very nice and strong. And so we won't have these issues. But for now, we'll just deal with it. So what am I reflecting on today, right? It's really interesting to always be thinking about this. So guys, I hope you'll be patient with me. Again, if you want to watch this video at double speed or something like that, or just skim around, that's fine, because I am genuinely going to sit here and reflect and kind of process out loud. But sometimes that just requires me sitting and drinking some coffee. So I'm going to start by doing that. So one thing I'm kind of thinking about is, one thing I'm very, very excited about, is the level of alignment coming into my life. And so again, these reflections, the first few days I did these, I kind of had some issues or struggles and I was addressing them. But a lot of times I'm also in a really good spot. And so I want to reflect in order to enhance my consciousness on the things that are working, on the things that are coming true. And so, I do two things I'm meditating on constantly, right? Two big things are things that I learned from Ayn Rand in the book Atlas Shrugged. And they are, one is from in The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged. I mean, both of them, right? But I think really Atlas Shrugged for these two things I'm working on. I just love her books. Those two books are so good. I've read nothing else by her, but those books are just gorgeous. Things I'm reflecting on is A is A, and wanting A to be A. I'll get into more on that, right? But again, this is my advanced time to think to myself. So I'm thinking to myself, right? If you don't follow, deal with it. Number two is I must sanction my own actions, okay? These are two things that are antidotes to the cultural hypnosis, right? Of groupthink and of feeling bad about yourself and feeling just down. And so I'm just always reflecting on things, and especially the past couple months, I'm really trying to advance my consciousness in these areas. So what does A is A mean? Well, you've heard me say a few times recently, things about the laws of physics, laws of human physics. And so that's the kind of stuff I'm thinking about. When I say A is A, right? What I'm saying is that the laws of physics are the laws of physics, okay? And I know that sounds kind of trippy or whatever, but the point is that, from a Buddhist perspective, right, if you're creating suffering in your life, it means you're resisting reality. And so all this is another way of saying that very Zen or Buddhist philosophy, I don't know that it's Zen particularly, which is that if you wish for the laws of physics to not exist, you're creating suffering, right? If you wish that you could fly and not fall back on the ground from gravity, you're resisting reality, which is creating dissonance in your head because your brain is always processing what actual reality is. So if you're creating a fake reality, there's always going to be dissonance, and that's going to help destroy your ability to make good decisions and destroy your psyche. And so I'm thinking about A as A, but kind of in an advanced way, actually. So on one hand, right, we think, the secret, and this is the example I used the other day, is we think that life is meant to go according to our desires, and so we might want things that we don't really deserve, like a lottery win, for example. That's the most absurd example, is let's say you buy a lottery ticket and spend time wishing you would win the lottery. That's something that's why I've always been instinctively, I've known there was something very, very wrong with that. And it's not that you can't do it. It's just that for me, it would be very, very wrong for me to ever buy a lottery ticket because it's an example of wishing A is not A. Meaning you are saying, I know this $20 would be better spent somewhere else. I know my chances of winning this lottery are 1 in, 100 million or whatever. And the fact is, the sad truth is that even if you win the lottery, you still won't be happy. In fact, it will probably make your life worse. And I think I'm going to have to save that as a whole nother parable for life, actually. I'm going to put that in the parable section. Life is, life is like the lottery, right? Except in a bad way. Because actually, if you win the lottery and you don't deserve that money, everyone's going to want your money. You're not going to know what to do with it. You're going to be overwhelmed. You're going to be depressed, actually. That's just kind of I think that's been scientifically shown. There's this awesome TED Talk by Dan Gilbert on the surprising science of happiness, where he pulls up this graph and he says, okay, so we've got two types of people. We've got paraplegics, people who have lost their legs, and we've got lottery winners. Now, we're doing a test on happiness here. Which of these two would be happier 1 year later? Person who lost their ability to walk or the person who won the lottery? Okay? And then he's like, what do you think? And then he shows these two bars, and the paraplegics are like really low happiness, and the lottery people are really high happiness. And he's like, yeah, you passed. And then he's like, except you didn't. You actually failed. These are the real data. And then it shows a graph where their happiness is exactly the same 1 year later. And he's like, these are the data. And if you listen to a good psychologist, they always refer to data as plural because data are plural. So anyway, he says, these are the data. There's your little thing. Like, some things just stick in my mind. That's a Psych 110. Michael Hamilton, thank you for teaching me that data are plural. I will always get that right. Or, well, sometimes I won't, because sometimes I use data as singular colloquially, right? So sometimes I refer to, like, the data is singular because it's more colloquial, because a lot of people don't refer to data as plural. But anyway, there's Woody's like galaxy brain sidetrack for the day. And again, this is just space for me to do that and be safe doing that. But the point is, right, that it's a double trap, actually, wishing for A to not be A, wishing for the laws of physics to not exist. Because not only does most of the time it not come true, you don't win the lottery and then you're sad, you create literal suffering, right? Not only is that true, but even when you wish for something and you get what you want, it ends up not making you happy. And, you know, this is just a simple example. I don't have all the information on this. I don't really know. But an example I would give you is that people who have really good success at a young age often have special challenges dealing with that. So if you've watched the Taylor Swift documentary that she came out with recently, right? I've been listening to Sparks Fly over and over again. I just love that song right now. But if you listen to Taylor Swift's documentary, right, she was really popular from a young age, really talented, sweet girl, like very nice. And she had a lot of struggles because of her success. You know, she says in her documentary, right, she had eating disorders. She struggled, like, once she won her Grammy or whatever the heck singers win. Like, is it a Grammy? I don't know. But whenever she won all her awards and, like, after her second album, like Speak Now or whatever it was, she's won all this stuff and she's, like, at the pinnacle. And she looks around and she's like, I'm lonely and I'm not happy, right? And so she's really grown into herself lately, but even people who have prodigious talent and achieve massive, incredible, like, success struggle when they get their wishes before their personal development has aligned with that. So it doesn't mean you shouldn't want good things to happen, right? It's just that the thing happening does not make you happy, right? Your personal development makes you happy. The thing happening can just help your worldly success, right? And so she's got more money and more fame and stuff to, you know, throw around. But if you're unhappy, that's almost more dangerous. And so I say all that because I'm working on this, you know, first of all, in that way, right? I don't want to wish to be popular if I'm, like, not doing all the steps to be as popular yet. I don't want to wish for more earnings in my coaching business. Like I said, I'm running negative right now because I'm just building my craft, right? I'm treating it like grad school. I'm not wishing for A to not be A. I'm not wishing to suddenly make $1 million tomorrow. I'm wishing to take my time and develop the best thing possible and then let it, you know, happen naturally. And so that's one thing I'm constantly doing and working on, okay? And then, you know, the other thing that's more advanced, and this is where, you know, on that I've been working on it. This is a cutting edge, more advanced thing I'm working on lately that's even scarier for me, but it's really cool. I'm going to have a drink of coffee and then I'm going to tell you about it. The thing that's more advanced is I'm now learning that there's an opposite side to this, which is really fascinating. Which is if you do invest in yourself and you do work on the things that you know are going to work because you're in here seeing everything happen, it's tempting to be really afraid that suddenly for you, the laws of physics will not apply. So just simple example, right? Like I've got a friend, Rachel Richards. She has this amazing set of books, Money Honey, Passive Income, Aggressive Retirement. Where are they? They're over here somewhere, aren't they? Where are they? Here you go. So my friend Rachel has these books, right? And they're awesome. You should get them. They're very cool. They're just like the best, right? Like this is just a generic advice on money, like for like millennial women, but really for anybody. It's just a really good book on money. And this teaches you every type of passive income you can make. It's a really comprehensive book. It's really nice. So she's really great, right? And she's a couple years older than me, but she's really incredible. And this month, right, she posted on her Money Honeys group that she runs that she made $7,000 in royalty income from her books this month, which is insane, right? And so one thing that I notice in my head, this is my reflection, my self-therapy, is if I see something like that, right? And like, look at this gap, right? Right now I'm making negative $300 a month coaching, and she is making $7,000 a month just from her books. And she has programs that make money. She has real estate, right? And other stuff. And so I see that gap. And one of the other ways I'm tempted to be afraid A is not A is I'm saying, okay, like I'm going to model her behaviors, right? She's a great role model for me and a great peer. So I always model her. I'm like, wow, she works really hard. She's really dedicated, right? She's really consistent. She's good with people on social media. And so I'm modeling her behaviors, but also doing my own thing, right? Not trying to mimic her, right? Not trying to be a worse version of her, but trying to be myself, just modeling her best skills, stealing some of her standards, right? Stealing some of her standards, and using them for myself, best practices. It's very tempting for me to think, oh my gosh, like, what if I'm the one failure where everybody else who's really smart and working really hard on their stuff and writing books is making tens of thousands of dollars a month? And what if I'm the one person who never ends up making any money coaching? What if I'm the one person who struggles with that, right? And at this time, I have authority to tell you this because I'm not earning in my coaching business yet. And it's very important that all of this, all this teaching, all this dedication, all this is being done not because I'm already earning from it, but because I know that it will pay off. And I know because I'm watching the laws of physics in my own head, right? It's not just that I'm looking at my people like my friend Rachel, or like I'm pointing at her books, or other people who are really successful, right? It's that I'm also, in addition to stealing some of their best practices and behaviors, I'm doing what I know is best for me. And so today I gave the parable of the driving, and I really am driving my road trip. And my road trip's pretty unique, right? It has pretty unique philosophies, a unique way of going, but it all makes sense in my head. And so I can see huge, physical, financial, whatever success for me around the corner in the future, right? I'm very young. I'm 26, like goodness. But it's tempting. It's always tempting for me to say, what if I'm the only, what if I do everything right and it just doesn't work? Okay? What if I do all the hard work, make all the videos, do all the social media, do everything, but just for some reason, nobody ever listens to me? And what's really fascinating is that fear, the fear that it won't work, is equally as much this A is A, like fallacy, this fallacy that A will not be A, that the laws of physics will not apply. It's equally a suffering-based denial of the laws of physics as wishing to have something that you don't deserve, okay? Because essentially now what I'm saying is, what if I do everything that deserves this outcome, but I don't get it? What if I'm the only one, right? And we all secretly have this fear. It's also kind of related to my Dobby complex that I talk about in a previous parable. And so what's really cool is I've been exploring that lately, because now I'm seeing that, first of all, life is complicated. So life is not an input-output one-to-one thing. So it's not necessarily true that I will go do all these actions and I will have exactly the result I want, right? But what is true is that whatever I put into my input matrix, meaning all the things I do in a given day, right, or this matrix of interconnected things that all affect my life, whatever I put in does directly determine my output matrix, which is the probabilities of different events happening. And so while everything in life is probabilistic, nothing is certain, okay, because there are too many variables for us to ascertain what is certain, so I can't be certain that I will write a book that will get 550 5-star reviews and make me $7,000 a month, right? I can't be certain that I could ever have that no matter how hard I worked. But I can be certain that if I work extremely hard and use my life lessons and I become as strong as possible and just do my best, right? If I do my best, then what will happen is that my output matrix will be very, very good, right? It will be exactly what it deserves to be. And so that may mean a 90% chance of making tens of thousands of dollars a month, right? It may be a 60% chance of making $10 million a year someday. It may be a 99% chance, right? But I've got to listen to my brain and focus on what the physics tell me to do. And so for me, right, I'm always receiving these signals, like you're capable of so much, like you can do so much. You just get people. You just get how to help them. You get how to inspire people. You get how to lead people. And so what I'm learning right now, and what I'm reflecting on in this video for you, is that even way before I ever have any people reporting to me in my business, before I have, a ton of money coming in, before I have any of this, my brain and the physics are saying I'm really learning how to work with people, and I'm really, really good at managing people. And so I honestly think I would love to have a big company, because I just would love being in charge of people and being able to wake up every day knowing I'm going to make those people's lives better by giving them great jobs and like awesome benefits and all this stuff. And so I see those huge things for myself. But this is very nuanced, but what I see is that, every day when I come here and I podcast to you guys and I do all this stuff, and I'm afraid it might not work out, or I act out of fear, whenever I do that, if I have the fear of what if it doesn't work out, that is equally as much denying reality. And so sometimes for a kind-hearted person, for a gentle or meek person like me, It is more difficult to get yourself to trust that if you really do excellent things, you will have excellent outputs. And it's difficult to trust because you're always afraid, well, what if I do everything right and it doesn't work for me, okay? But that can't happen because the laws of physics always work, okay? And so one of the things I'm practicing now is I'm working on myself so much. This is why my philosophy is change yourself. Then your life in the world and your dreams happen, blah, blah, blah. But you just always change yourself because you can always control yourself. And that's, again, why I'm starting with my physical workouts. You can actually see, right? You'll be able to see my progress. But I'm getting extremely fit, extremely fast, right? You can see a little bit in my shoulder definition here. In my arms, they're getting bigger, right? My legs are getting stronger. My abs are growing in. And this is just in a month of working on my physical body, okay? And the reason that's so cool is because, again, the laws of physics always apply. And so I'm testing it on my physical health. I'm saying, hey, if I really want to be, a big life coach, I might as well have a perfect six-pack, be extraordinarily fit, low body fat, be like in insane shape. Because that just proves to people that I know how to get things done, right? It's just like, duh, of course. And so that's my main focus right now. Even more than these videos for you guys, it's actually my health and my workouts. Because if I can prove that, then it's like, I believe in the laws of physics. So maybe that's kind of the final reflection here, is that laws of physics, right, they apply. And so if you ever get afraid of that, if you're ever afraid, if you find yourself, wishing that you would win the lottery or wishing you would have some success that you don't deserve yet, then, put a little red flag. Or if you find yourself putting in good hard work, kind of like I'm doing now, but being afraid it won't pay off, put a little red flag. And then what you can do, instead of just fighting those thoughts and getting lost and stuck in your head, what you can do is work on your physical body and learn the outcomes from that. And so that's why I highly recommend you go start a workout regimen, right? You can watch all my workouts and do the same ones as me. I just use Jeff Cavalier's workouts. He's one of my role models. I have a picture of him, among other people, taped to my wall up there. And he looks at me every day with his six-pack, and he looks at me and says, Woody, are you working out? And I say, yes, Jeff, I'm working out today. And so it's my reflection for today, really, is that trusting in the good outcomes is just as important as not wishing for good outcomes you don't deserve. Trusting in the good outcomes you do deserve is just as important. So guys, that's my reflection for today, and now we're going to move into the podcast, which I will do in just a second. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this recording once my mouse comes back up, and we'll talk to you on the podcast.